In today's video, we're going to be jumping straight into some more Throne and Liberty, and this time we're going to be going over one of the most needed resources in the game and one of the most sought after, and that's going to be your trait, Unlockstones. These things are absolutely amazing, and whenever you find a really nice piece of gear, probably one of your boss or arch boss weapons or pieces of gear, if you can manage to get hold of one that is, then you may well want to use these in order to get the most out of them, save yourself a bit of loot and unlock the trait that you're going for on that piece of gear. You can do this in two ways, either by using it straight away in order to unlock the exact trait you're after, or you can use it as a trait conversion in order to change one that you previously had on the item that probably wasn't exactly what you were after. These things are absolutely amazing and really help you to save on a little bit of loot, but they are quite hard to get hold of, so I'm going to be showing you in this video the best way to get hold of all of the trait Unlockstones and some tips and tricks on how to make your life just a whole bunch easier. Now the first way we're going to be going over is one that is definitely worth doing whenever you can, and that's going to be your weekly rewards. Weekly rewards can be absolutely amazing, but most times you're pretty much getting yourself resistance gear or just an item that's not really sought after for your build, and as such these items may not be something you want to pick up. I, at first, before I knew what I was doing, was picking a few of them up, hoping to get a few nice traits on them in order to take them off and then chuck them on the market for a little bit of loot. Now the market has fluctuated, so with this, unless you get a really nice piece of gear with your drop, something like a universal band ring or maybe a nice belt, then you may well want to pick up the alternate reward just down the bottom here, which is going to be your trait Unlockstones. Remember, the more of these that you're completing means that you're going to get more for your replacement reward, which of course is going to be those trait Unlockstones. Over to what is quite possibly the best way to get hold of it, and that's going to be exchanging your dimensional soul shards. Whenever you're doing your co-op dungeons, you're going to want to be kind of completing them, building up your dimensional soul shards, and now since the latest update you can get even more of these. Whenever possible, I would highly recommend doing your random dungeon, as that's going to give you an extra soul shard each time, and then once you've built up a steady stock of these, you'll be able to head over to one of your epic crafters down in Stoneguard Castle, and then you'll be able to exchange these for this item just here, the common trait Unlockstone bundle. Basically they've worded it a little bit strange, it just means you're going to be able to get some trait Unlockstones, and the way it works is you're going to need one of every one of those dungeon completions, so all 6 dungeons are going to need to be completed at least one time, and then whatever shards it's given you for it, you'll be able to exchange them for this resource. It works out every single time you've done one of every co-op dungeon, you're going to net yourself 4 dimension soul shards for each one, and turning all 6 of these in will allow you to get 12 trait Unlockstones. If you've been doing it with random dungeons allowing you to get an extra one, you'll be able to net 15 overall. This works out, in my opinion, works out the very best if you're trying to put a lot of time and effort into getting trait Unlockstones, and it may well be one you want to focus on. Over to another great way of doing it, and that's going to be your battle pass. Obviously your free one is most times going to give you some trait Unlockstones nearing the end of it, as well as quite a few other goodies as you're playing through. This can take some time, but it's definitely worth doing, and claiming these is kind of going to be a given as long as you're playing the game for quite some time. However, if you want to get the most from it, and if you can afford it, buying the premium battle pass will of course cost a little bit of loot. I believe it's around about 500, and most times around about the middle and nearing the end of the pass gives you quite a few as you're progressing through it. Over to another way that is definitely not worth missing out on, and that's going to be your Lifograph book. This is absolutely amazing for getting hold of loads and loads of trait Unlockstones, and as you're managing to drop and get some of the better gear in the game, quite a few pieces of it you're going to want to chuck into this book in order to get the most out of it. Some of these pieces of gear seem enticing early on, but later on you realise that they're actually pretty rubbish whenever they've got bad traits on them, so you may as well put them in here if you don't need to do something like deconstruct them in order to get the purple dust from them. Putting them in this book can often lead you to get some really nice rewards, and the resistance gear and some of the other ones most times mean you won't be lacking out on anything, but instead you will be gaining yourself some nice rewards and hopefully some nice trait Unlockstones. The only thing to watch out for, don't put anything in here that's going to be worth an absolute abundance of loot, so if you find something that's a really nice piece of gear, doesn't fit in your build whatsoever, check it out on the marketplace, make sure you're not doing yourself a disservice and losing out on a lot of loot when you really don't want to. Another one to watch out for is going to be the events that are coming within the game. Obviously there'll be certain ones at certain times. Seasonal events are very often going to give you some nice extra stuff, and this time we've got the Halloween event, and at your event merchant you'll be able to get some trait Unlockstones for each week you're playing the event dungeons. This will change seasonally, and from time to time will give you some really nice gear, and of course some trait Unlockstones or some other stuff that's worth looking out for. heading over to your amateur expeditions. If you can, you're going to want to be making sure you do this daily, as it gives you some really nice rewards, and if you're very lucky, you may well get something just a little bit better than your average drop. Obviously, this isn't the easiest thing in the world, and you can't actually account for any of the RNG involved in this, but it is still worth knowing about, as some of these drops are really going to be sought after. The main one for this is going to be the blue expedition patch that you can get hold of whenever you're sending your amateur out, as this can bring back some trait unlock stones as well as some other nice tasty resources sometimes. The best way I found to do this, if you can, try to send them out each hour if possible, as this is really going to help out with the RNG involved for getting hold of those patches. Then I believe it's around about a 6% chance each time you open it up that you can get hold of a trait unlock stone, meaning the more you do this, the more chance you've got of getting hold of some. Obviously, if you're going to bed, chuck it straight on an 8-hour one so you can look at it in the morning, but overall it's definitely worth doing your amateur expeditions, and this is just like a nice little bonus if you do manage to get hold of some. Another thing that I'd recommend doing daily is going to be heading over to your contract coin merchant and spending 75 of your coins on these mystic keys. You're going to be able to pick up 5 a day, and every single time you're going out, you're going to want to venture around looking out for your little mystic globes, as every single time you're opening these up, you're going to have the opportunity to get hold of one of those trait unlock stones. Of course, you aren't going to get every single time, but this is definitely worth doing, as it's also going to give you abyssal contract tokens, sometimes some nice trait extraction stones, as well as some other really nice resources as well. From time to time, it's also going to unlock the portals, and again, I think you can get trait unlock stones from these, although I haven't actually got any myself from them, so if you can, chuck it in the comments, as I'd love to hear from you. But this is still definitely worth doing, and it's just another extra way to grab yourself some really nice essential items that you're going to need while you're playing the game. This time we're going to be heading into a much more leisurely pursuit, and we're going to be taking a look at fishing. Again, you're going to want to go to your contract merchant, pick up this resource right here, your fishing bait chest, as this is going to give you a lot of cheap bait that you can use for your fishing areas. Then pull out your fishing rod and hope you're able to get something nice. Obviously, a lot of RNG is going to be involved in this, and it is definitely not the fastest way to get hold of trait unlock stones, but it is again worth doing, because you'll be able to build up your fishing, grab yourself some nice stuff in the process. But the main thing you're going to be after is going to be your large and your small sacks. Every time you get hold of these, you have a chance of having one of those trait unlock stones within it, as well as some other nice stuff like your Bellandir and Tevent Shards as well. Last and definitely not least, but one that I do need a little bit of help with, I have been told that since the last update, you're also able to obtain these from your dynamic events. From what I heard from one of my last guildmates, whenever you're doing your dynamic events, there is going to be a chance for you to get hold of these trait unlock stones, as long as you perform absolutely amazing in them. Personally, I have never seen these, so take this one with a pinch of salt, as I may be wrong with it, but from what I've heard, if you get between 1st to 3rd place, then as well as your normal kind of drops that you'll be receiving, such as your Solant and your resources based on your actual performance, now, instead, you've also got a chance of getting hold of one of those trait unlock stones. Like I said, take this one with a pinch of salt. Personally, I've never managed to get anywhere under rank 7 with this, and I have not come across it myself. But if you know this one to be true, chuck it in the comments and I'll pin it, because if you are good at these events and you're very kitted out, it probably means you could go to some of the lower ones and you'd be able to farm these quite nicely. Definitely worth doing if you find yourself lacking on some of those trait unlock stones. But again, it seems like it's very RNG, so unless you're really geared up and able to tackle a lot of enemies at once and get yourself into those top ranks, this may well be one to avoid. If you're able to do it very often though, it may be one to look at as an additional way to get hold of a few of them. Right, those are all of the best ways in the game currently to get hold of these trait unlock stones, and they're absolutely worth knowing about. There's going to be a lot more content away from me. Hopefully you're all enjoying the game. As always, for All Things Gaming, take care. I'll see you on the next day.